We're back. Season 8 of Split the Difference. This is a lot of movies we've been watching. Jesus God.
I just, I never realized how many remakes there could be. Like, I knew there was a lot of remakes, but it's like, god damn, there's a lot of remakes.
Yeah, America's responsible for this, unfortunately. Taking other people's better stuff and repurposing it and making inferior products. That's a hint towards what we're going to talk about. So
Yeah.
let's start season 8 with saying that this is going to be the final season of Split the Difference. We're wrapping it up into the season because it's getting to the point where we're running out of time to do this stuff.
I was gonna
It's
say we're running out of patience of clone movies.
yeah, that's another thing for tonight. But yeah, we're running out of time frames to watch. These are getting harder and harder. And Hope, you're going to be going off and working on a nonprofit next year with Liz, isn't that correct?
I am. I'm gonna be chair of the nonprofit, so
You're really not going to have time.
especially when it's on the opposite end of the U.S. and yeah.
Yeah, so we've decided we're going to cut the episode count for this season from 10 to 8, and we're going to do one every other week. It's going to be...
For 8?
Yes.
Season...
So, yeah.
No, 8 episodes for season 8. Okay.
Yeah, just that's how it worked out. So yeah, cutting it down. We're going to be wrapping up Split the Difference, and there's a couple possible film rescues at some point. There's a game rescue I want to get in there at some point, but then at that point, Jaguar Sharks might be coming to an end. Don't know. Still going to be doing TikTok stuff. It's just that time frames and scheduling has become very, very difficult. Seth has stepped away from recording, so it's just Hope and I at this point. So getting schedules to work out is not impossible, but it's very, very difficult. Hope just got off a 2.5 hour conference session with 3 other people, and I've been doing TikToks since 2:00 this afternoon. It's 7:40 at night right now. So yeah, we're a little burned out.
There's a reason I have my wine with me.
And I have my beer, my celebratory beer of doing 7 TikToks back to back. So if my voice sounds a little raspy, that's why.
But can I just say, isn't my new office pretty?
It does look nice.
I unfortunately all my nerd stuff is in front of me so right now, but I will eventually get nerd stuff behind me.
That's why I have the camera facing that direction, because all the posters and prints are right there. There's my friend Kaylee. There's my friend Jess. There we go.
I'm just selfish and I want to look at it and not have other people look at it.
That's fair. Yeah. All I have is my soundboards in front of me on this side of the wall. But anyways, that's the announcement.
Then my boyfriend's, because we share an office, so all of his stuff is on the other side. So that's another reason we've like split the office down the middle. So.
Hey, it's a couple's territory. That's how you do it.
Yeah, it's our nerd lab. It's our nerd kingdom.
Lab. Yes, and I have my man cave down here. All right, so with all those announcements out of the way, let's jump into the first episode of the last season. We're talking about Femme Nikita, directed by Luc Besson from 1990, versus its remake, Point of No Return, in 1993, directed by John Badham. So Femme Nikita has been remade multiple times.
Oh yeah, it's not only into movies, but like TV shows. And
yeah, there's multiple shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had seen the original Femme Nikita, and I remember I think I saw it back in college. I think we talked about it with regards to editing, as far as I remember correctly, because it is a very, very well edited film. And I remember really enjoying it. I'd said I told myself I never saw the remake, Point of No Return, because I heard about it. I'd seen like previews for it. I was like, I've never seen it, so I'm gonna throw it on the list for this season. God damn it, it's another fucking clone movie.
I was just
I told myself I wouldn't do this.
So right before we started recording, I was like, Jesse, I almost got really mad at you because I was like, this is another clone movie. And if it wasn't for like the end of the remake, like it splits off, other than like, oh well, instead of France or in California, like, it's just other than those little things, I was like, it's pretty much a clone movie. But until the end, and I was like, at least they veered off a little bit.
Yeah, but not for the better, I think.
No. The original was 1,000 times better, for sure.
Yeah. So let's get into the original film. So But here's the thing I'm going to say that looking at it now with 2020 vision, I love the premise. I love the idea. You know, a street ruffian gets sentenced to death. Death is faked. Gets pulled into this underground government agency to be an assassin. Great. Here's the problem. Why do they need her?
Jesse, do you want to say your motto?
Because the movie needed to happen. There is no justifiable reason. You could think of any bullshit reason you want. I can call it bullshit in 10 seconds. But if you get past that one little hump, fantastic. The original, so fucking good. I love the original film. So, Hope, did you see this original film?
No, honestly, these
These all
type
seem
of
like your kind of film.
that's what I was gonna say. These types of films aren't really my bag. I don't know. And maybe it's because like this, like James Bond kind of sullied these types of films for me, just because like it's the original, or
Mhm.
it has it's never been my thing.
Yeah.
I just I don't know. That's just me, but not to say that I didn't like it though, because I did.
Mhm.
I liked the original a lot. So it's testament to that I did like it despite it not being like my thing. So
Yeah. Yeah. What I like about it is the fact that it's very matter of fact. Like there's no pomp and circumstance. It's basically just spies going in there to do a job. People at work. Like what's their job? We're assassins. We live double lives. We sneak into locations, we kill people when we need to, and that's it. But it does take a toll on you emotionally, and it's very blunt. So if there's one thing you say about Luc Besson's films, is that he's very blunt, sometimes in the worst possible ways.
mhm.
You look at the companion film to this is probably Leon the Professional.
Well,
That film is also
a lot of the same actors were in Leon the Professional though. So
there's
it's
yeah, there's also a reference to a character named Leon in this movie, and I was like, is that
yep.
the same Leon from The Professional? But then Jean Reno shows up, and it's like, well, it can't be him. It's like, it's fine.
No, but it's probably like a little wink to the audience,
Yeah,
like
wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, haha, they're the same universe. We promise. Yeah, that film also has its fair share of problems.
I did. We're
The
not talking about that
underage
right now.
relationship. Just we're not going to talk about that. I still like that movie. Problems aside. Uh, but yeah. Since these are clone movies, let's get into it. Actresses. Which one was the better choice?
I think my answer is gonna always lean towards French.
Yeah, I like Bridget Fonda. I think she's good, but I she's not miscast, but she doesn't feel like she's giving the best performance.
I feel like this was like she owed a favor to somebody, and so she was
Yeah,
doing it as a favor.
yeah. It was funny when I was watching it. I was watching the remake, and I was like, "Oh, that's just Joanna Dark from the Perfect Dark video games because it's the same hairstyle." And then I looked it up, and they said, "Oh yeah, La Femme Nikita was inspiration for Joanna Dark." I was like, "Oh well, there it is."
Can I just say one thing about the one of the things that bugged me was when she's with Amanda and she's like teaching her how to be like prim and proper, and she's like, "Oh, let's put a wig on you." I'm like, that wig is literally her hair just combed.
Yeah, it's the same
That
hairstyle.
like, same color hair, same hairstyle. I was like, "It's
Uh-huh.
literally just her hair, but combed. What the hell?" At least I will give that 1 point to the remake because they actually completely changed her hair
Hmm.
with the wig and whatnot in the remake. So I was like, "Okay, at least they changed it instead of, well, I brushed this wig and didn't wanna brush your hair, so we'll just put this on."
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why they gave her the exact same hairstyles in the original. That was very weird. It's like maybe give her like red hair or
I don't know,
change
but
something. Doesn't matter.
I
Anyways.
there is the another thing too that I did like, in the original, the time lapse was more obvious and more
Oh yes.
precise, whereas the remake I felt was a bit jumbled because in the original, they're like, "Okay, well, it takes them, 3, 4, 5 years in order to train. And he's like, okay, well, she's 2 weeks to get her act together. Otherwise, we're killing her before she can continue her training. And then it
Yeah.
says, okay, here's the 2 weeks that she got her act together. And then 3 years later. So you can tell there's the progression where it's like in the remake, they're like, oh, she has 6 months no matter what. Like, you either train her, condense the training in 6 months, or she's dead in 6 months. And I'm like, no,
That's really not how that works. Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
So
I
I liked that the timeline was a bit more flushed out in the original.
yeah, it feels like there's a real progression of her becoming civilized, I guess you could
Mhm.
say, because these do have the exact same opening. Also, it's funny that Michael Rappaport's in the opening of this remake, and
I saw that. I was like,
yeah,
"Ah."
I used to really like him until he became a Trump supporter, and I was like, "You fucking asshole! What a way to torpedo your career, dude." Because he used to be like hard liberal, and then he just like flipped, and I was like, What happened?" Like,
I don't know. Well,
I
let's
don't
not
know.
talk
I don't want to get
politics.
political. I don't want to get political on this one. This is not the place for it. But anyways, um, another thing that's different is the actors' chemistry in the original is so much stronger. I like Gabriel Byrne as an actor. I do. Doesn't work as well with Bridget Fonda. I just don't buy it as much. The chemistry between the
Well,
two.
it's also, again, I felt like it was very rushed,
Again, yeah, yeah.
so a big thing is I had the biggest issue with the remake. So in the original, after she gets out of her training, after she, does her first mission, she meets her partner, I, what I forget his name in the original.
Bob.
No, 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 like her romantic partner.
Oh, her romantic partner. Oh God, what was his name? Oh, Marco. Marco.
Marco. It was Marco. Okay. So she meets him and like they're together and it's established that while it happened fast, they are at least engaged,
Yeah,
you know.
a lot of
And
time has passed.
a lot of time has passed. Well, it has been a quick like they got engaged in 6 months. Okay, they're young and in love. I can believe that, whirlwind romance. So like when everything happens, it's more like, "Hey, I'm already promising my life to you. Just open up." Now, in the remake,
Mm-hmm.
when she goes on the vacation with her man, they're not engaged yet.
Yeah.
And the fact that in the original, she's like trying to do a mission while on this vacation with her fiance in the original. So like he's like, "Hey, I'm trying to have a conversation. I'm trying to really like break us down, like we're on this getaway, like I want us to be like very vulnerable with each other." And that was a conversation through the door. And I was like, okay, I get that. Maybe and it's a good excuse because he wants her to be vulnerable and um maybe she needs that barrier, because of her life. I can totally get that. When really it's just her trying to do the mission without him knowing, but
Yeah.
whatever. But then in the remake, he's not trying to get her to break down and, like, be open and emotional with him. He's proposing to her
Through the
through
door.
the door. And he's like, "I never imagined my proposal to be like this." I was like, "Then don't fucking propose to her through the damn door."
This is not the time or the place, dude.
I was so infuriated with that scene so much. It could have been like, "Hey, I really need to ask you something. Like, I really want to," like it could have been like a lead up to it, and then finally when they see each other, he's like, "I wanted to get to you and propose to you, but I guess you're not in the right state of mind." That would have been different, but he's he's like, "Oh, why don't we make this trip the engagement present?" Is that how you propose to a bitch through the door? Like,
No.
I was just so mad. I, like, had to pause the movie. I was so mad. I was
Also,
so
the
mad.
fact that they've stumbled back to their hotel room completely wasted, and it's Mardi Gras. That's not really the best place for an engagement, honestly. You
Especially,
do a
like
lot of dumb shit at Mardi Gras.
especially, like, 5 minutes earlier, he was clearly staring at, like, 100 titties.
Yeah. Also, by the way, in terms of like vacation spots, I would say Venice probably better than New Orleans. This is
At least
another
New
issue I
Orleans
had.
during Mardi Gras, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could just go there at any time. Like, that doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. This is the other issue I have with the remake. I don't feel like I buy this story. I mean, this is probably just a nitpick. I don't feel like this story works as well in America. It works overseas in Europe. For some reason, I just bought it better with a European setting than I did with an American setting. Maybe it's just like hindsight because of where we are now politically with America, but I just don't buy this story as well in America.
I don't know. I buy the same story, but I feel like it would be stricter in America, so to say.
Mm,
Like, I feel like in Europe, it was more realistic because they believe in the reform that she went
yeah,
through, whereas in America, I feel like there would always be someone on her ass. Like,
yeah.
no
They'd be
matter what,
watching you constantly. Yeah,
she would always have that, like, she would have always been partnered with Bob. Like, she never would have been off on her own, I feel, in that
yeah,
setting at least. So, like, I can believe the setting, just not the I feel like she'd be on a tighter leash, at
yeah.
least.
I mean, this kind of organization does exist in America. I think it's called the ISS. I think it's what it's called. Let me look this up real quick.
The International Space Station?
No, it was oh god, there was a comic book series based on it. It was called The Activity, and it was essentially about the evolution of this organization. That was yes, the ISA, the Intelligence Support Activity. Essentially, this is a real organization, real, where these are the people that live double lives. They're the ones that say, "Oh yeah, I work for a software company. I'm heading over to England right now for a big meeting with the heads of European companies." And then they fly to Saudi Arabia, assassinate some person, then come back the same day. "Oh, it was a great day at work. Can you please pass the mashed potatoes?" It's those people.
Mhm.
These people do exist, but they're so secretive and they're so okay with disconnecting their professional and personal lives that it really does kind of deflate everything for me because I'm aware of this kind of stuff existing in American politics. So for me personally, I just don't think this story works as well in America. That's just my thoughts. If it works for somebody else, that's great. But for me personally, it just doesn't quite sit right for me. So
Okay, yeah, like I said, I also feel like it would be more believable if it wasn't like a reform program and it was more so they signed up or they were trained as children or like, if
which
she
once
was
again goes back to my biggest problem with the story is that it doesn't make any sense. Why get this one person?
Mhm.
Why not hire in people that are capable of this? Like go back to like Men in Black. Like they hire in like people that are capable of doing this job. They don't just hire
Right, they
some
like
asshole off the street.
yeah, they like went from like different military and police backgrounds and yeah, like who
Yeah.
were already in the system, so to say.
Yeah. I never thought I'd connect Femme Nikita to Men in Black, but here we are.
That what's really funny is I actually mentioned Men in Black earlier in the panel I was doing because we were talking about repression and coping techniques and therapy, and I was like, "Oh yeah, everyone just the neuralizer from Men in Black just and they repress everything."
There's a bit in Garth Ennis's Preacher where there's a character that's working for Air Star, the kind of the bald Nazi dude.
Mhm.
And in order to punish this guy that's a subordinate of Air Star, Jesse Custer uses the God voice and tells him to count to 1,000,000 grains of sand on a beach. Literally just sit there and count 1,000,000 grains of sand. He's there for like weeks at a time. And he finally does it and he's free of his control.
Yeah.
And then he confronts Custer again and he's like, "You know what I've been through?" And then Custer just says, "Then forget it." And he forgets it. It's a great moment. Oh, it's so good. I was like, "Oh, that's so great." Yeah, Custer finally grows as a person. He's like, not an asshole anymore. Hey, good for you, man.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, that's a weird tangent. Yeah, go read Preacher. It's very good. The show sucks, but
I was gonna
go
say
read the
La
comic.
Femme Nikita, Men in Black, Preacher. No.
This is gonna get me good hashtags for when I have to post this.
Right.
So yeah, going into the remake a little bit, I want to talk about something that I. Oh, one thing about the remake, there's an actor that's a cop in the opening of the remake. The cop that gets shot by Bridget Fonda. That cop is the same guy that's in Terminator 2 when they break out of the psych ward. It's the exact same guy. Mick Rogers is the actor's name. I was like, oh, is he just playing his same character? Did he finally say, I'm moving out of Los Angeles. I'm getting the fuck out of here? It's like, oh, that's what happened to
They're
that
all
character. So
in the same universe.
it's Terminator 2 and La Femme Nikita. They're in the same universe. I promise. That's just a funny little thing. One thing I wanted to bring up is, are both of these films misogynistic? I know this is like 1990s sensibilities. I know, I understand. But just the way in which they train her to be like prim and proper, and it's just, maybe we're just looking back on this 30 years on and we're like,
Yes
is
and
this misogynistic? I
yes
can't
and
tell.
yes and no, because we also have to think the type of people that they're going after are part of high society. They're
It's
part
true.
of the 1%, and they do act different than your normal you and me, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, it took me the longest time to know what a charger was for, um, on a table. A charger
Hmm.
is the plate you set your plate on. Like,
Yeah.
who the hell knows that? So, like, but, like, someone in high society would know that.
I
Kinda like
just learned that.
right, or like, in, when we did Saltburn, how it's like, "Oh, well, don't you know you order the omelet and then you get the stuff." Like, it's just a different so I
Yeah.
could see where the prim and proper training would be because, again, she's going after a different class of person. She's not going after now, if it was set in today's standards, it would be a little different because your high society people are the software geeks in Silicon Valley, so it'd be a little bit different. But
Yeah.
back then, the targets were of that high society mindset. So it a little misogynistic to an extent, but it's also like it's of the time.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. It was just something I was coming up with. I was like, them making her look like this, is that appropriate? But it's fine.
Again,
It's
yes and no. It's that gray area.
yeah. Other notes I had was the excessive slow motion that's in the remake.
Oh my
Yeah,
You mean
I
especially in the beginning scene?
oh god. Well, also the shootout in the kitchen that kind of bugged me. The shootout in the kitchen in the original is great. I love the shootout in the kitchen. Also, by the way, the gun they give her in the remake, what
It
the
was
hell was
weird.
that
That
thing?
was
What is?
weird.
Yeah, like for an assassin, you want to give them like something that's efficient. You know, smaller would be better. Just my thoughts.
Back to Men in Black, the little
Yeah, back to Men in Black. Yeah,
little gun.
yeah. Um, Other little note I had. This made me want to go back and replay the Hitman video games. That's just a thing I just made a note of. um, the other thing.
Reaching for those
When
hashtags.
yeah, I'm going for those hashtags. So when the cleaner shows up, that's kind of where the movies diverge the most.
Yes. Also, I will say, did I like the cleaner scenes as much in the remake? Eh, but I loved that it was Harvey Keitel.
Yeah,
I loved that. As soon as I saw him pop up, I was like, "All right, I'm back in." I was like,
yeah.
"Yes, yes."
He's not as exuberant as Jean Reno is in the original though, which bugged me a little bit.
No, he's not, but I am a fan of his. So no
Yeah.
matter
Oh yeah.
what, like I was like, "All right, I'm back in, baby." Like
Yeah. He's not my favorite cleaner that's ever appeared on screen. That would be Stephen King in Sons of Anarchy.
I was gonna say the wolf, but
Oh, the wolf, yes, but I was gonna say just in general, my favorite cleaner in any film, TV show is when Stephen King shows up in an episode of Sons of Anarchy.
I mean that's
He
a
shows
good
up as a
one.
character named Bachman. It's like I get it.
There's a good one, but there's also one that shows up in Venture Brothers that I love as well.
So yeah, god damn it. Okay. Yeah, that stops it. Yeah. But in terms of the cleaner scenes, like another thing is that they tone down the graphic content of the American version, obviously because it's American. The original is like when they dump the acid. But by the way, this also was a note of mine. Breaking Bad ruined cleaner scenes for me with acid
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, that acid is going to go through the tub. It's not going to just flush it down into the drain. It's
That's
going to just
why
chew through everything.
that's why you have to get special, like, plastics and things so it won't
Hmm.
react with the chemicals and yeah.
Yeah, that was so yeah, I look back on this movie and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't quite work. It would have been funny if they had a sequence where it just falls through the floor and they're like, they spend like another hour cleaning up the body again.
That or if it would work if they, like, placed a special, like, tarp lining or something, but
Yeah, yeah. But this is the
yeah, little
'90s,
that's
you know.
nitpicky. That's so
That's
nitpicky.
nitpick bullshit. But yeah, it's far more extreme in the original. Like that guy,
Oh,
like
dude's still twitching.
he's still twitching around like constantly, and then
Hold
there's
him down!
the fighting between the agent and the cleaner goes on, and finally he just pulls a gun and just shoots him. Clearly, the cleaner is psychopathic. Yeah, they really drive home like, yeah, this cleaner is fucked up. Like this is
Yeah.
a fucked up person. Yeah, Harvey Keitel just kind of seems like he's doing his job,
Right. He's very, like I would say he's more
calculating.
cold and calculating, whereas
Yeah.
the original is, like, psychotic.
Yeah, like he clearly is getting off on murdering these people. How many people does he kill in the original? Like what,
All
seven,
of
eight
them.
people?
All of
Yeah,
them.
yeah, all of them. Yeah. Also, when they escape the compound at the very end, he just plows his car through a brick wall. Like, look, I'm willing to give a little leeway here. That would have like it's an embassy. They're lined brick to brick. Okay, you're not gonna punch through the wall. Okay, just doesn't matter. Doesn't
Hulk
matter.
smash.
Hulk smash that shit. It's all good. Uh, but oh, let me see. I lost my notes. The other issue is that when I really break down the endings of these movies,
Mhm.
it makes more sense why the boyfriend figures it out in the original.
Mhm.
It doesn't quite make sense why he kind of figures it out in the remake.
I don't think he does, though.
Does he? Oh, that's right, he doesn't. She leaves a note. He doesn't even figure it out. It's like
Yeah.
at some point you would have been questioning, being like, you disappear a lot. You kind of just vanish. You don't like to talk about stuff. Are
She
you?
shows up with all those marks on her face, and he's like, "Oh, rough day at the office." Like,
Yeah, it's not. No, it's not a rough day at the office. Like, no, it's like at some point he would have somehow gotten it. It would have clicked for him. Apparently, the remake and the boyfriend's kind of a doofus.
he's a, himbo.
He's a himbo. Yeah, he's on Venice Beach. Yeah, which by the way is where Josh Dysart used to live. This is probably I think this was shot near where he used to live,
Wait,
as
wait, he's
far as
on
I'm
the beach.
aware.
He's a photographer. He loves in life, man.
Yeah, that's another issue is that I think changing the occupation of the two characters from a photographer or from a cashier at a supermarket to a photographer, it just he's so unassuming in the original. He's just some guy.
Well, also he's has aspirations. Like he's an engineer to build boats as well. So like
Yeah.
he's smart. He's just working his way up.
Yeah.
Whereas in the remake, he's like, "Oh yeah, I kind of just like clean up places and but I love photography." Just totally in
Yeah.
his own little world.
Yeah. But, oh, by the way, another little note. They give the cashier in the original film a chair to sit on because in Europe you're allowed to sit when you're working a register. Why the fuck don't we have that in America yet? Fuck you.
Oh, just like when I used to work at Best Buy and I would work morning shift because who needs a computer at 9 in the morning?
Ugh.
Um, and I'd be there for like 8, 9, 10 hours, like standing. And like if I sat for 2 seconds, they'd be like, "Why are you sitting?" I'm like, "I've been standing for 10 hours."
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. That shit
these
is
shoes are, unless you want to pay for my insoles, you're gonna let me
yeah.
sit.
That shit is straight up torture. That's actually a torture method that the Nazis would do to the Jews in concentration camps. They'd force them to stand for hours and hours on end. So it seems like our service industry in America is based upon Nazi Holocaust techniques. This is wonderful.
Well, also,
Europe kind of,
there's no tipping in Europe because they pay decent wages for, like,
yeah,
waitresses and waiters and things like that, and
yeah,
we're not gonna get into that now.
yeah. I want to move out of America. Anyways, um,
We're gonna talk about ravioli.
oh, okay. Uh, what is up with the ravioli obsession in this movie?
I
I mean,
think
I love ravioli, but not out of a can.
I think it was just her, like, everything was provided for her up until that point, that
Yeah,
she didn't know how to fend for herself, so she just, like, she just bought everything in mass, She was like she didn't know what she was even buying. She was like, "Well,
yeah,
I see a normal human girl buy this."
yeah. Not realizing that bread goes bad after about a week.
Right.
Buys like 6 loaves. It's like you're not even gonna eat 5 of those.
I I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen.
Get nice and bloated afterwards.
Carbo load,
Oh
baby.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah,
No, but I think, like, I think it was a in the original, it was a bit, like, it was cute because, again, she had everything provided for her up until that point.
yeah,
So, like, she didn't know how to shop. She had never I when in both films, when she's like, "I'm scared," and they're like, "Oh, you have nothing to be scared about. We trained you." It's like, she's not scared to kill. She's scared to live.
yeah,
Like, she was a junkie that apparently was taken care of her whole life, and then she went into your facility where everything was still taken care of and provided for her whole life. And now you're sending her off into the world, and it's like she doesn't know anything. I'd be scared too going in as a blank slate.
yeah. I am kind of curious why they never sent her with like a person to watch over her or a handler or something. I was kind of curious. I was like, but then like I said, the movie needs to happen.
Right, right.
It's about her getting out on her own because she got a second chance. It's like
Mhm.
okay. In terms of uh the franchise that this is based on, did you ever watch any of the TV shows or anything like that? Or
I know of them. I know of the '90s one. I know of the one they did in the early aughts.
yeah,
It's just one of those things I never got into. Just
yeah,
it was never in my niche. It was never, you know.
yeah. I think I watched a few episodes of the one from the '90s. I think it was on USA. I think it was Peta Wilson, who's
Mm.
probably most well known from that awful League of Extraordinary Gentlemen film. She played Mina Harker, the vampire lady.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, that's. I remember watching it. I was like, this is pretty good. It didn't really grab me. It wasn't my thing. I'm probably sure if I watched it now, I'd be like, okay, this is quaint. Um, there was another one starring Maggie Q. I want to say that was from like the I want to say it was like the late 2020s or something like that. It was
I don't
the
know. There's been so many remakes of this
oh
of
2010 to 2013. Wow, that lasted a long time actually. Okay. Yeah, but anyways, yeah, it's one of those stories that's infinitely adaptable. It's been adapted into multiple languages, multiple countries have adapted because
Mhm.
it's so basic. And that's another issue I'd have with the movie is that it's very kind of bare bones. Both of these are very straightforward. I mean, there's implications you could get a sequel out of this, but I don't really see a reason to do so. The lead actress even said she wouldn't do a sequel if she was offered one. So,
I see that as more as like an anthology type deal than
yeah.
like the same premise, just different girls, and so you could see it how they played it out each time with different girls.
Another person gets brought into the organization, they get trained to do this, and
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah. Uh Another question, do you buy the love story between her handler and uh and our lead actress? Do you buy the love story that supposedly crops up?
I didn't, and I honestly, in both films, I did not.
Same. Same.
It was
Look,
very weird, very forced. The only thing I
a
could
little
think of.
creepy, actually.
Yeah, um, it was just I don't know. It just felt forced in again in both. Like I could see more if he had a father-daughter type relationship or something
Yeah,
or
like he wanted to take
um
care of her.
right, just like how he ended up being Uncle Bob, like why not
That
play
makes it
into.
even creepier. He's the creepy uncle. Ooh.
Oh, right. So, but like, why not play into that though? If you're gonna eventually make him Uncle Bob, just make him be like, "Hey, look, you're kind of like a daughter to me now. Like, I'm watching out for you,"
Yeah.
instead of weird fetishy like. But that was in both films. I don't know. I That's one
Yeah.
thing I didn't agree on for either.
Yeah, I think it works a little bit better in the original film because I think the actor is better cast, but it's just weird in both iterations. Yeah. Both iterations just feel strange.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. And another issue is that the music. um I love the original soundtrack to the original film. Not a fan of the remake.
I was gonna say music's more your bag. So, like, what is it about the music? Like, you want to break that down for me? Because I
90s techno. 90s techno. I like that vibe. I like that style. It feels like a spy thriller. It feels like that. Whereas the remake, it feels like just 90s romantic drama music. It doesn't fit.
Well, I think they tried to make it a romantic drama, though, and that's why.
They do try to force it a little bit more, even though this is a straight. I mean, this is a straight clone movie, like almost shot for shot, beat for beat, almost line for
Until the
line
end, yeah.
until the end, where they make it feel more like a love story for some reason. Gabriel Byrne like backs up the car and sees her walking away, which she just disappears in the original film. Like she's just gone.
Which is more plausible if she's, like, this trained.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes more sense. Whereas with the remake, they're like, oh, she just walks away and he lets her go. It's like, he'd probably have somebody watching him if that's
Right.
the case, because they would never let this person go at
Well,
all.
just like in the original, he came with multiple people, whereas in the
Yeah,
remake, it was, like, just him,
just
you
him.
know?
Yeah.
So
Lots of convenience in the remake. All the changes are done for the sake of convenience for that moment.
mhm.
So I like I said, I think this story works better in a European form with subtitles. I know this is probably going to be a short episode because these are clones, but I think the issue is this was in the 90s where there was a lot of adaptations of French films into American films, and
Mhm.
very few of the American adaptations were actually worth it. And This 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 is just another example of it. People not wanting to read subtitles. Bong Joon Ho has said this multiple times. Once you get over the 1 inch barrier of subtitles, a whole new world of film opens up to you. I think people just need to force themselves to enjoy subtitled films.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating because I'm not going to say that Point of No Return is bad. It is completely competent. If you are if you are absolutely a person that cannot read subtitles, go right ahead. It's basically the same movie, a little bit different feel, but it's just inferior.
It is, and the thing is, maybe I'm a little biased because, again, like I said, walking into this, these aren't my type of films. I would like to know if it was like somebody's if this action spy thriller thing is more somebody's idea, then they might enjoy it a lot more than I did too. I'm coming in with a different type of bias.
Yeah, I mean it's going into it with the thought of these are not your kind of films, you're already kind of stuck.
Mhm.
So, I mean, when it comes to adaptations into America. I mean, if this was the same director, if this was Luc Besson again, I would say, okay, I understand why he's doing it. He's capitalizing on a market. He's trying to go into an American audience. I would understand a lot more. But this is a totally different filmmaker. So I'm just kind of confused why they would want to just adapt the exact same thing again. I'm genuinely just kind of confused. Why not do something different? Like we said, it's so straightforward. You could add anything, and maybe that's what the TV shows do. Maybe they change things around. I don't know, but
Well, they
I
have
do
in the
think,
TV shows if it goes on for multiple seasons, so, like, obviously,
yeah,
there's way different things that happen, and
maybe
it
that's the
might also
anthology
be
element that you were talking about.
yeah, but it also is, attributed to you can elongate the story, whereas in both of these films that we just watched, we have to condense everything. Like,
Yeah,
in the shows, you can play out those 6 months of her falling in love instead of like, "Oh, that happened in 5 minutes."
yeah,
So it's just a different take on it.
yeah. Because those 6 months, you're like, okay, did she get called up for any other job? Maybe there's the other jobs. It's like, it's
Right.
like, because it kind of just implies that that's her first job after being gone for 6 months. It's
Mhm.
kind of just implied that that's the case. It's like, I don't think that's the case. I think they would probably call her for something. So
I don't know.
yeah, but yeah, in terms of entertainment, I would say the original is stronger. It's I say the original is better shot as well. Lots of unique camera angles, lots of unique close ups. Like when they they bug the hotel room in the original
Mhm.
film. The close ups on the coffee cup, like all the different tracking devices and listening devices. That's like, oh, it's clever. It's unique. And then in the remake, it's just, oh, just get this cart into the room because there's a bomb in it. Like it's less interesting. It's kind of like just static shots, medium to wides. It's, the occasional close up. It's kind of standard. It doesn't feel like that's what the remake is missing. A lot of director's stamp.
Mhm.
Like Luc Besson movies, that filmmaker's style. You know it. Because it's very blunt, in your face, matter of fact. He's done some films I don't care for. Valerian, we'll forget that ever fucking happened. But yeah, for the most part, his movies right from the get go. Whereas with this guy, John Badham, it's like, what is his voice? What is his voice as a filmmaker?
Yes.
Let's see what else this guy's done. Let's see here.
Actually, I think I looked at his stuff and he's done quite a few things. Didn't he do like war games or something?
He did. Oh wow, he did War Games, Blue Thunder, the 1979 Dracula, Saturday Night Fever. Oh, Saturday Night Fever. Wow, look at that. This guy is actually a genuinely talented filmmaker.
Yeah, I just think he was put out of his element in this one, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know why he took this one on. This feels like director for hire. It doesn't feel like enough of a unique voice on this thing. It doesn't really feel like it's his bag. Oh, here it is. Bridget Fonda was hesitant to accept the role, not sold on doing a remake of such a recent film, but was eventually convinced to do the film after being convinced by John Badham and her single white female director, Barbet Schroeder. Okay, so she had to be convinced to do it. I don't mean,
Hmm.
but it doesn't really say why he joined on for directing. I don't know. Maybe he was just a fan of the original and said, "Oh, I could totally do that."
Maybe.
No. Not an untalented filmmaker, very talented filmmaker, but it just doesn't feel like his thing. So, so yeah, I think that's the best place to end it. The original, fantastic. If you can get over that logic hump of why do they need this person, just ignore it. Just ignore it. Doesn't matter. Then you can get a really, really great film in there. It'll make you want to go back and play the Hitman video games. I had to get the hashtags in there. And then the remake, if you absolutely cannot read subtitles, you're dyslexic, you're fucking blind, I don't care. If you can't do subtitles, the remake is fine. It's completely satisfactory, but the remake currently sits on Rotten Tomatoes at around 52%, which is about what I'd give it.
Yeah.
The film gets a 50,
It's
around
fine.
50%. Yeah.
It's fine.
It gets a 50% just for existing. It's competently made. And that's the best I can say about it. It's not bad. It's inferior. And that's it. Yes,
Oh.
exactly my thoughts. Oh.
So what's on the docket for
Next, we're talking about Bangkok Dangerous. We're talking about I think it's a. I've actually never seen the original. I've seen the Nicolas Cage remake. I've never actually seen the original Bangkok Dangerous. Let me see. 2008 action thriller. Based on the original Thai film from 1999. I've actually never seen the original film. I've seen the remake. Did not care for it, even though it's Nicolas Cage. But
Nick
this is
Cage
the
is
rough years of Nicolas
look,
Cage's
I
career.
was I was gonna say, anybody who has seen Community, the show Community,
Mhm.
one of my favorite episodes is when Abed takes the class of "Is Nick Cage good or bad?" And he has a full-on mental breakdown of, like, he was, like, Oscar-worthy here, and then total shit here, and then he was this and that, and then it, like, just goes insane trying to figure out if he's good or not, so, like, yeah.
I think we're gonna have that discussion on the next episode because
Yes.
I figured out what the theme is gonna be for the TikTok content for November. Nick Cage November. Nick Vember. Every day is gonna be another Nicolas Cage movie. And
Oh,
that's
no, I did see Longlegs in theaters the other month.
how
Oh,
was it?
so good.
So good. Isn't
Wait.
he only in it for like 20 minutes or something like that?
Cuckoo, cuckoo. Mama! Ta-da!
Isn't he only in it for like 20 minutes or something like that?
Yeah, but it's Nick Cage at his Nick Cageiest in a film. It's so good. That's all I can say. Like, it's one of those films you have to go into blind, and it's so
Okay.
good.
I haven't seen a trailer or anything, and I think it's playing at the theater down the road from me, so I might go see it.
You should. It's oh, it's so good.
All right. That's on my list of things to do for next week. All right. So we will see you back here in 2 weeks for Bangkok Dangerous. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.